Good evening. Just to let you know that the Putnam Valley Board of Education meeting of April 11th, 2019 convened at 6 o'clock this evening, at which time we adjourned into executive session. We are now just resuming. So if I ask all of us to start our meeting at this point and rise and salute our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, my first order of business, I'd like to resolve to approve the minutes of the Board of Education meetings of March 21st, 2019.
Second.
Questions or comments? All in favor? Aye. I'd also like to announce that the Treasurer's Report for February 2019 is available in the business office. And now for the fun part. Are we doing Pride in Putnam Valley?
Yes, we have some.
That microphone's not on.
Button, just the arm.
Say that again, because I agree.
Are you getting it?
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. The best part of the board meeting is the opportunity to really celebrate our students and to celebrate our school district and community. So we're going to start this evening with a very special first grader at Putnam Valley Elementary School, Giovanni Silvestro. Is Giovanni there?
You won't be seen.
See Giovanni from here?
Absolutely not. Maybe in 3 years.
Where we can see it.
Stand on the chair. Stand on the chair.
Stand on the chair. I love that idea.
Thank you.
Only an elementary school principal would suggest that.
Sign a waiver.
I will stand right here too.
Do you need a chair, Dr. Wolf?
Let me tell you about Giovanni. He's very, very special. We received an email from one of our teachers, Dan Turner. And he told us about Giovanni's wonderful act of gratitude and of generosity. Gio spent a snow day doing arts and crafts with his mother, Nicole Pocha. After completing his homemade potholders and perler bead creations, when his mother joked how they could sell the crafts, and Gio responded, yes, $2 a piece. Good American capitalism and entrepreneurship. When asked what he would do with his money, Gio insisted on not making a profit. There's the difference. Instead, he wanted to raise the money for a local charity in the community. Mom suggested charity ideas to him, but Gio decided the money should go to a Putnam Valley family in need. And that's exactly what Gio and his mom decided to do with their profits. With that statement, Nicole put a blast out to Facebook seeing if anyone would be interested. Our community instantly swarmed to the idea. Countless orders were placed almost immediately. Gio and his mom have been hard at work ever since, creating their potholders and bead creations. I think our district owes it to Gio and the community to acknowledge him for doing good when no one asked him to. Gio was intrinsically motivated to do the right thing, a lesson so many of us can benefit from. So we are tonight awarding Giovanni Silvestro with the Pride in Putnam Valley Award. Wait. So this is a Pride in Putnam Valley for being a role model for all Putnam Valley students as a caring and thoughtful young man, demonstrated by your initiative and commitment in selling homemade crafts to raise funds for a local family in need. Congratulations, Gio. And keep it up. Keep it up. We need more of you. We need many more of you.
All right, see now. Are you high school students paying attention?
So this was a time when we received quite a few emails about the great work that our students do. The next email came from one of our community members, Kevin Backus. And I'd like to tell the story if I may. Is Kevin here? Can you come up, Kevin? I have to really read this letter because it's very moving, and it again makes a statement about our students and what they're capable of. So this letter was written to Principal Intrieri. Dear Principal Intrieri, firstly, thank you for the incredible work you're doing with the students at PVHS. You have the most responsive, incredible, caring, and helpful staff, educators of any school we have seen over the years. It is a tribute to your dedication, oversight, and thoughtful approach to our kids' education process and well-being. The goals you continue to achieve with these students and the morale of your teachers is spoken of throughout the community. Thank you for all you do. Secondly, I do not know if there is anything in place at PVHS that recognizes students for special occasions in which they go above and beyond and do something outstanding for or within the community. If there is such an opportunity to praise a student for doing something great, I would like to recommend a student that recently was not only incredible and selfless, but also courageous, heroic, and a great example of what an extraordinary citizen is. I hope you don't mind me sharing this story with you, but I can't help thinking about what this Putnam Valley High School student did for me. Last week, I was involved in a bad accident. I was on Peekskill Hollow Road, close to our home, when a deer darted out in front of the motorcycle I was driving. Consequently, I was forced into oncoming traffic and into the guardrail across the road. My body took most of the impact of the steel, and I was catapulted about 15 feet out and 15 feet down a steep embankment. I went head over heels twice and landed on my back. I was barely able to breathe and could not walk. My heavy jacket was torn to shreds. I will spare you the rest of the details. I managed to somehow make it to my feet, but could not move. I could not yell for help. I was in terrible, horrible shape, riddled with pain, and felt hopeless. I was able to throw my helmet up over the guardrail into the road, not far from where my motorcycle was situated along the guardrail. A vehicle pulled up within a short period of time, and a mom and daughter got out, looked around, and saw me in my desperate situation. The mom called 911, and the young lady hopped the guardrail into the steep hill and asked if I was okay and needed help. The young girl knew I was in rough shape and continued to make her way down the embankment calmly with intent. She was focused, and despite the difficulty and traumatic experience in scene, she was unwavering in her resolve to help me. I remember thinking, how is this young woman going to be able to help me? And what she did next, I am still thinking about, and how amazing it was. This young woman, my guess about 110 pounds, put my arm over her shoulder and basically army carried me up the embankment to the roadside to a safer area where first responders and paramedics could easily reach me and treat me. She told me, everything will be okay, and spoke like an adult that had been a combat veteran. She put her own safety aside and came to my rescue without hesitation. She managed to get my 245-pound self out of the ditch and up where I could be transported via ambulance to the Trauma and Triage Center at Westchester Medical. I asked the young woman if she was from PV. I asked where she went to school, and she said PVHS, and I think I recognize you. Are you Taylor's dad? Her mom then yelled to her, Jacqueline, go out in the road and stop traffic, and she did so again without hesitation so the ambulance could pull up and I could be attended to. As I was packed into the ambulance, I asked her last name, Phillips. I almost smiled as I said, Jacqueline Phillips, the lacrosse player? I wanted you to play for my club team last year. Jacqueline and her mom just smiled and wished me well. There's a lot more to the story, but most of what I remember. Not only does PVHS put out good students, they put out great Samaritans and citizens. I just wanted to share this with you and say how appreciative my family are of this young girl's selfless kindness. It is a reflection of her family, as well as her school upbringing, and being taught the importance of being part of a team and community. If there is a Good Samaritan Award at PVHS, I would like to recommend Ms. Phillips for it. And so we have. Pride of Putnam Valley. Jackie Phillips for being a role model for all Putnam Valley students, demonstrated by her heroic deed, going above and beyond, and taking swift action and effort with no hesitation to assist a fellow community member in need. Congratulations, and thank you. It was a great meeting. And thank you so much for what you've done. And thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Phillips, as well, for this, this wonderful action by everyone. It's all about the family and what we do to create these wonderful children.
Dr. Willis, can I just jump in for a second? I have the good fortune of being a personal friend of Jacqueline Phillips, and my favorite part of the story is that she engaged in a calm conversation with this poor man, and so, yeah, I know you're Taylor's dad. So it's just that it could be such a normalizing and calm, I didn't do anything big, I just saved somebody, is just absolutely inspiring.
I think we need these good stories.
We
That
do.
We really are hungry for great stories like this. So it gives us a great joy to have the opportunity to provide these. Our next Pride of Putnam Valley is to a Putnam Valley High School senior who has given all of us great excitement and joy over the years during the time he's been here. And we're going to ask Brian Burrow and Ryan Alsasser to come up to present this award to Darnell Schillingford. Darnell, will you come up, please? And we hear constantly about Darnell, not just his athletic ability and what he does on the court, but what a remarkable and respectful person he is and how he contributes to our school and to the stature and, again, to the good character of Putnam Valley High School. And so I'd like to give this opportunity to Mr. Burrow and Mr. Alsasser to present this award.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Wills. I'm going to be brief here and let Coach Alsasser really run through a lot of the details, but I just want to offer congratulations to Gio and Jackie. Really, all three of these individuals really showcase what we're trying to build here, and at a broad scope of levels across the district and out into the community. One of the most prideful things for me at this time is that athletes are up here receiving the award, and that our coaches, who I work very closely with, are pushing that out and moving that out and carrying that on, so that it's filtering throughout the program. So without anything further, Coach Ryan Alsasser.
Thank you again to both of you. Pretty amazing stuff up here. It makes me proud to work here in Putnam Valley High School and Central School District. I'm here to speak on behalf of a student athlete who's an inspiration to me as a coach. Darnell Schillingford is a fine demonstration to what I personally believe is a student athlete. Through his time here at Putnam Valley, he's demonstrated a high value in his education through his course load and over 4.0 GPA. He's a member of the National Honor Society, the Math Honor Society, the English Honor Society, the Spanish Honor Society, as well as a recipient of the Presidential Academic Excellence Award. As for his athletic accomplishments, he has received the following awards and recognitions as a 3-year captain of football team and a 2-year captain of the basketball team. 2 times All-League football, 2 times All-Conference football, All-County Player of the Year football, 4th team All-State linebacker, 1st team All-State Scholar athlete, All-Section basketball player, 2 times All-League basketball player, 2 times All-Conference basketball player, All-State basketball. Some of the statistics that got him there: he had over 1,000 career receiving yards, 284 career tackles for football, and 1,143 points in basketball. While excelling at all of this in his school and on the field and court, he has also helped to develop programs within his school community. A peer mediation program, he helps tutor underclassmen, helped to integrate new students through their school's transition mentor program, and helped establish the Future Business Leaders America Club. Darnell's impact is not limited to school programs, academics, or athletics. He has impacted the greater community and is helping to create a social outreach program for the Putnam Valley community. He works one-on-one with youth basketball players through a Big Brother program. and he volunteers as an official for youth athletic programs in the town. Darnell truly recognizes the importance of the community that he is a part of and selflessly gives back to it. For all of the above, Darnell Shillingford recently received the prestige honor of being named one of 12 Golden Dozen Scholarship winners by Westchester Putnam County National Football Foundation and Hall of Fame. This is a huge honor, and it's the first time in school history. It has been an absolute pleasure to have the opportunity to work with this student athlete, both in the classroom and on the field, and see him develop into the fine young man that stands before you all today.
And so, for reaching the high school basketball 1,000-point milestone and for also being a role model for all students, exemplified by his hard work as a scholar, musician, and athlete, we present this Pride of Putnam Valley Award.
And I think, Coach Elsa, you would probably agree with me when you say, am I on? I think both coaches would probably agree with me when I say we have many professional athletes that could stand to learn a lot about dignity and humility and integrity from watching Darnell Shillingford. So again, it's an honor. Thank you. We're having a moment. It's
We're actually going to,
This is what happened. We need a 5-minute recess? Okay, let's have a 5-minute recess. That's fine. Plus hiatus is at an end. And now we would like to welcome to the podium Natalie Doherty for a presentation on that.
good evening. So I'm going to quickly go through the proposed changes in the regulations, which I have done a little bit, but we wanted to get more specific into sort of accountability, timelines, job description, a clear, whether or not we should look to hire a social worker or a school counselor. So I'm going to start. So I think the biggest change in the regulations is really about all students. Right now, for example, at our elementary school, we have 2 psychologists. At the middle school, we have a psychologist and a social worker and 1 school counselor. And then at the high school, we have 3 school counselors, a student support specialist, and 2 psychologists. But really, the role of a school counselor and the changes in the regulations is really about servicing all students, and it really is that the regulations are very clear that we can't substitute certifications. So really the foundation of the new regulations is to build a mission statement and a philosophy, and we began working on the mission statement and the philosophy, sorry about that, in January, and we should be done with that by July at most. I have to keep moving over here.
You take the mic with you. You just, yeah.
That's a good idea.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Good idea. So the school counseling plan really will be completed by July 2019 and submitted to the board. It's a work in progress. It's a new document that we're looking to create. It has to be very prescriptive in terms of lesson plans, timeline, a calendar for when everything will be done. And then I created a job description, which I know the board, of course, we can't pull it up right now. If everything could go wrong tonight, it is. So I can't go through that, but it really is about delivering services in a prescriptive manner, really with a scope and sequence of lessons. from kindergarten all the way through grade 12. And, hold on a second here, it's a little confusing because I have to keep going back and forth. Okay. So the evaluation also has to happen for the school counselors now, and that is really, we've always evaluated our school counselors, but now the regulations really describe, to pick an evaluation tool, and they'll be evaluated yearly. And creating an advisory panel, hold on, let me just put this back. I'm just gonna talk because it's not really worth this going back and forth, trying to present. So basically, the regulations are very clear in terms of what a school counselor, the role of a school counselor does, and the role of what social workers and school psychologists do. The role of a school counselor at this point in time and what the regulations are looking to change is a lot of Tier 1 services, making sure that we deliver lessons to all students, getting into classrooms, doing small group work, doing some individual work, some short, stints of specific work. A lot of what we've been seeing is really school phobia, anxiety, really a lot of the social media, bullying, a lot of that work, that Tier 1 work that we need to get done right now. We only have 2 psychologists at the elementary school. We do not do building level counseling services, which is really for all students because our school psychologists are testing, they're providing mandated services, they're on the RTI teams, they're working with Child Protective Services, they're working with all of the local agencies. So they're really, they're 2 people for 530 students. And so a lot of that building level work and that intervention, the proactive work that we need to get done is really difficult to get done. And we're seeing, as I've discussed here before, really significant mental health concerns as students get older. So I think that providing this sort of scope and sequence of lessons and bringing that language to our youngest students especially, and our middle and high school students as well, but really being proactive and addressing this head-on at a younger age and giving our youngest students the language they need to identify what's going on and how to, our expectations even. I'll give you an example of bullying. Really with social media, young students have access to all types of social media and don't know how to use it responsibly. So really doing lessons on appropriate use of social media, or when you are bullied, what happens, how can you handle that, who do you go to, doing a lot of that proactive work. What is anxiety? Giving the language to our youngest learners and trying to be proactive and uncovering that before they even get to middle school so that we can address those issues so that they're not really in crisis by the time something comes up. So that's the work that I think really, with the new changes in the regulations, is supposed to be done. It's supposed to be that proactive work in the classroom, and definitely pull-out work, RTI work, really that Tier 1, where the psychologists and the social workers are really doing that Tier 2 work or Tier 3 work, where you're seeing kids mandated or for a longer period of time making referrals to outside, placements. So that's the difference, and I think, and that's why I strongly recommend a school counselor at this point in time to handle a lot of that proactive work. We'll also need to shift some of our high school, middle school staff in order to meet, to do the lessons that are required for us to do, and that will take place as well. So I think that, I can't pull up the job description, it's not going to let me, but it is done, and it really does speak to all of this direct work, proactive work, delivering lessons in the classroom and in small groups. So Do you have questions?
I just have, it's no secret that this is a real passion of mine and that I
Sure.
do similar work. I think and I support the addition. I think the key, though, is K-12. I think the
Yes.
key is going to be the bridge from one
Yes.
level to the next.
Agreed.
I have unfortunately worked with or known many individuals who, as young adults and high school students, struggled with substance abuse, but in DARE, in fifth grade, were the most vocal that I will never smoke cigarettes, I will never drink,
Right.
those are all bad things. Developmentally, people are at different places. So I think this will work, and I think the point of the state's regulations is that language we use in the elementary school
Exactly.
and the skills we teach our kids to tap into in the elementary school have to be the skills they then can use in the
As
middle
they
school.
get older,
When some
strategies.
of these things start really hitting.
Exactly.
Bullying hits its peaks 4th to 7th grade, not in the high school, but in the middle school, and then again in the high school. So I would recommend that, and I know that it's been discussed, but I know we haven't made any formal decisions, that we bridge the bodies themselves.
Agreed.
So that we cross, so we really are articulating a preventive
I
strategy.
could not agree with you more, and I think that is why one of my recommendations really is to have somebody assigned to the fifth grade, but also K-5, one person, a dedicated person to really do a lot of that delivery. We need to be giving our youngest students the language, the skills before it becomes crisis. If we don't start doing that proactive work, we're going to have to keep the cycle of crisis. And we're not alone in this mental health crisis. A lot of districts, when I go to meetings in the area, are really talking about the struggling students with depression and anxiety and all that they're exposed to in today because of access to phones. Those are most of the conversations that we have. But again, I think that if we don't start doing that proactive work, we're not going to see the long-term changes. And to me, that is why I think that Tier 1 is really what we're missing, and I think that we really need to address. So.
Natalie, are there programs, already written curriculum?
There are
that
some.
Good? Because, I mean,
Yes.
I like to bring somebody on who has to write, she has to get to know us, write I mean, that seems to
So-
me like tremendous in terms of the amount of work. But if there are programs already well-written, Tier 1 programs.
So there is a program called Second Step that we are examining right now. It is a very good program. I never like really canned programs, but it certainly is a great scope and sequence of lessons. And you can always do more than that or different than that, but it's a really nice
Base.
sequence. At the middle end, you can use either Second Step or School Connect, it's called. And the high school would probably use School Connect, and they have a really nice scope and sequence of lessons. And just different, not just lessons, but really lessons that teachers can talk about with their students and incorporate into their, the books that they cover or the history time periods that they cover. So it really is about a school-wide initiative, not just a single lesson in a single day. It really starts to embed a lot of this work into the classrooms and allowing students to become really familiar with those same faces where they know they can go and access somebody. I think that's incredibly important too. We are, again, the middle school could really go either way, and they're examining those two different programs right now. So with that, we'll make a recommendation before the end of the year on a program.
And how much of the review that was done recently, or the audit, whatever we're calling it, I know that there was some discussion that didn't go far enough in its recommendations, and that we were going to reach back out and have them
Yes.
either go further in depth and kind of a little less boilerplate that it felt,
Right.
be more custom for us. that is for the entire district, not just for this position for the elementary tier 1 piece that we're talking about. Now, that's for everything.
Yes.
And as part of that, are we expecting, you had mentioned a shift of the high school, middle school piece, or parts of it, or however that works. That needs to be pretty measured and really finely reviewed.
Agreed.
Before any of that stuff goes into place, only for the sake of some entrenchment, and then also for what is best for the entire district.
Yes, and I think we have to be really conscious of the additional work. It's going to impact many people. It's going to impact administrators. It's going to impact the counselors. It's going to impact our secretarial staff. I mean, it really is a large impact. And we are looking at each piece and figuring out how we have to shift certain things in order to get this work done. I think, again, we also can't forget the college process and what that means to families. So balancing all of that, and we are looking at that, and we'll make some specific recommendations in the coming months.
Well, and keeping the things that we do now that really work, things like the
Exactly.
Character Ed Committee at the elementary school, using classroom teachers to push into some of these programs, initiatives in the middle school, all the things that we already do that are good, maybe that need just a little bit more support and connection.
Exactly, and I think we have a lot of tier 2 supports that are really strong. I think it's a lot of our tier 1 supports that we need to really look at, and that's where a lot of the work, the proactive work, and bridging what the Character Ed Committee does back into our school counseling program.
Right.
So really bridging those so that it doesn't just end at the elementary school. What about, really bringing that all the way up? And we do Make a Difference Club at the high school, or we do other clubs at the middle school, and really bridging those types of things to bring to light a lot of the good things we do and the work, and having students involved in healthy activities, and also addressing these ongoing issues that we're having, so that we can keep that work going for students in the classroom, outside of the classroom. Again, I think that the proactive work is really that piece that, one, we're missing, and two, why the regulations changed and saw that need. Again, do I think that it's okay that they didn't fund this? No. That it's another unfunded mandate? No, not at all. Do I think the intention is good and right for what our students need and what we're all seeing? Yes, absolutely. I don't think anybody can argue with what our students, or students all in this, throughout the state are experiencing. So I think that proactive work is the work we need to do.
And I would agree with that. And I did look at the job description briefly, that you sent it to us, and I know you can't pull it up. Will there be some leeway in, for example, IEP counseling being provided by school counselors for some of the, I don't want to say less mental health kind of issues, but the anxiety,
They can.
there's those kinds of things, because we do have significant, serious
Yes,
social emotional issues that are
absolutely.
that will still be used by our psychologists and social workers, and we only have 4 of those
Exactly.
district-wide.
But
5?
I think the
Five.
most important, 5, I
Sorry.
think the most important part is if we have somebody who's doing a lot of the proactive work, it will free up some more of our, and again, I think we need to look at growing this program and changing this program and having it evolve over time. I think in our first year, it will look, we're going to see how it goes, and we're going to report twice next year to the board. I think it is our responsibility to report to the board at least twice, once in November and then once in the spring again, on how things are going, the progression of it. And I also think that part of the regulations talk about an advisory panel, and that is really community members, faculty members, and boards of education members, and really making recommendations to the board and reporting out at towards the end of next year on how things are going. And I think you were right on, at our last meeting about like what is this going to look like? What is the scope? And, sort of an accountability piece. And I think that reporting so that the board understands and knows where we are in the fall is a good thing.
And I do too. And I just, what I think we all want to make sure doesn't happen, and it would not be for not good intentions, that this become just a good idea thing, that the
Right.
kids hear this great thing once a month or once a week, but it's not connected to their real lives or their real worlds. And that's
agree more.
the danger. So, I mean, that's a potential. I don't think that would happen here, but I think that that could happen if we don't have it really sunk in and have teachers reinforcing the lessons. My district uses Second Step in the middle school, and right now it really is still at the good idea stage. I've asked kids what happened in the Second Step and who naps,
Right,
who,
right.
some of them are engaged, some are not, but
Sure.
we need to put more in to follow up from that lesson to what happens after that.
Agreed.
So, okay, great.
Thank you. So the next thing I'm going to talk about is a policy, policy number 4327, and that is homebound instruction. The only changes that I'm really recommending is really to be more specific. Our policy was very broad, and it didn't identify the amount of hours that a student, or the amount of days that a student had to be out if they were sick in order to receive tutoring, and how many hours they would receive during that time. So those are the changes. Any questions? It's a pretty standard policy.
And the changes are in red.
Yes.
Okay. Any questions?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Item 4.
Oh, were we talking about the budget today?
Yeah, that little thing.
Maybe. If we must.
Okay. Yeah, I think it might be easier to do it this way. Okay, so back again tonight to talk about the Putnam Valley School District budget for 2019-20. I've added some information to the slides from the previous two meetings, and we'll run through the entire presentation again. If anybody has any questions, feel free to stop me. So with the enrollment information, again, it's still being updated. Hasn't changed much from last time. Actually, this slide has not changed from last time. However, I have asked for updated enrollment information. And I believe from the last time we were here, we're seeing about 18 more students. And it's throughout. It's like, elementary, middle, and high school. So there's no particular grade that is being impacted by that so far. And I think, we still have a lot to see between now and September. So the program and staff information for the budget hasn't changed from the last two presentations. We're continuing with our current programs that are being offered in the district. We're adding a 9th grade level of Mandarin at the high school, and this is a distance learning program that is offered through Orange Ulster BOCES. We have some staff changes district-wide. Retirements, we have 3 teachers and 13 support staff. We have reductions as far as teachers go. I think right now we're at 3.4. And we have our 3 bus drivers that are included in the retirements. So Those bus drivers are either going to be replaced by district employees or by the contractor. We're unsure at this time still what we're doing. We're hoping to be able to hire them on our own. It seems to be the most cost-effective way to handle that situation, so that's what we're probably going to attempt to do, since the driver shortage is an issue for both the contractor and us. We're not sure how that's going to turn out. But we will be replacing them either way. The additions included in the budget right now are one groundskeeper, custodian, which will be at the middle school, high school campus, and also the clinician that Ms. Doherty was speaking about, which will be on the elementary school, middle school campus. I'll keep my hand off of it. I think that's best. Who'll be assisting on the elementary school and middle school campus. Okay, so as far as the revenue information goes, I've made some assumptions for this year's budget. We have interest earnings, and we also have one out of district tuition that will be helping us with our incoming revenue. We have our overall state aid increase of about $219,000. I know the budget was passed by the state, and our district is only due to see about an additional $6,000 out of all of the changes that were passed in the budget. There was another item that was passed in the budget, and I didn't talk about it in the presentation, but the state is looking to allow districts to have, and I think it went through, the teacher's retirement system or pension reserve. We're able to establish that reserve now within the school district reserve. So it's going to be advantageous for the district to do that going forward. And I think we'll have a resolution for that at the next meeting. We'll be using less fund balance in this year's budget. For 18-19, the budget was balanced using $2.2 million of general fund reserves and $1.3 million of debt service reserves. In 2019-20, proposing that we use $1.5 million of general fund reserves and $1 million of debt reserve, reducing that reliance, which is better for our fiscal state. So budgeted revenues by source, we have our state and federal sources. That's our state aid at $11 million. It's about 2% more than what we received this year. We have our local non-tax revenues, which are set at $700,000, which is slightly higher than last year, again, due to the interest earnings that we hope to receive and our out-of-district tuition. We have our property tax revenue, which was established by the tax cap calculation, and the tax cap calculation yielded us a 2.08 allowable increase. The increase that you're going to see here is 1.99 at $37.4 million. And our appropriated fund balance and general fund reserves, we're looking at the $1.5 million that I just mentioned, and also $1 million from our debt service reserve. The total budget being $51.6 million. It's up under 1% at 0.75%. Or $385,000. So I'm going to talk about the expenditures for 2019-20 and what changes we can expect to see there. So the budget includes new labor contract for teachers. Teachers' negotiations are underway right now. We have the support staff contracts, our vendor contracts for purchasing. We have our BOCES programs. Any services or equipment contracts that exist with them. We're seeing about a 3.5% increase in health premiums, which equates to about $205,000. And a new, as I mentioned earlier, a new 9th grade level of Mandarin is being added. And we have our staff replacements and enhancements that I talked about earlier. Some savings that we're seeing in the budget are our teachers' employer pension contribution rate, and also the staff, teachers and employer pension contribution rates have gone down. We're seeing a savings there of about $135,000, and also we're seeing some savings in the retirements and of the staff members that we had mentioned earlier, of about $450,000. So for our budgeted expenditures, we have our general support area of the budget. These are the 5 different areas of the budget that are the main categories. And in general support, we're looking at a 0.56% increase of only about $25,000 over last year. Our instructional area of the budget is actually seeing a decrease. Transportation is very similar. We're just seeing a little increase there based on the contract and the increase in the contract services. And the undistributed or employee benefits are the are where you're seeing the net change of the health insurance and the pension plans that I mentioned. The health insurance going up and the pensions going down. So net change of about a negative $105,000. Our debt service, you'll see an increase there about $412,000, and it's due to a restructuring of how we record the debt for our IPA service, our IPAs on our copiers and our laptops. So those are being reclassified into our debt service, and they were classified in our instructional category in the past, so that's why there's you're seeing an increase there. I'm not going to go through every one of these lines because we're having a really tough time seeing this, but this is a larger breakdown, or a more expansive breakdown of the budget. And also available is the line-by-line budget, which we have copies available. We're hoping to adopt the budget tonight, and if we do, the budget will then become an adopted budget instead of a proposed budget, and those items will be all distributed as far as the copies of the budget itself in the town library, at different locations throughout the town. You can get them in the main offices of the district or online, of course, on our website. So what does this budget do for our programs and accountability in the district? So taxes have remained below the allowable tax cap since the inception of the tax caps in 2012. And over the past 5 years, the tax levy change average is under 1% averaged under 1% at 0.67%. We've been able to maintain quality programs with a 5-year average budget-to-budget change of 1.43%. Our outcomes, student outcomes, continue to show positive student achievement. We've been able to preserve and protect student programs, and we've had increased learning opportunities for students throughout K through 12. And right now, because we have a tax cap compliant budget, it's provided homeowners with an annual tax credit, as well as the STAR program that you see on your tax bill in the fall.
Jill, can you talk a little bit more about
Sure.
the change in STAR that just came into place?
Right, so I do have a slide about that
Okay.
coming up. And actually, this slide isn't where I wanted it to be, but this was a breakdown of our expenditures in a pie chart. It's just something I added to the last presentation. Sometimes a visual is more helpful than all of the numbers. You can see that the instructional portion of the budget is our largest portion at 57%, and employee benefits at 23%, and the other smaller portions make up the rest of the budget. Then we have our 3-part component budget, which I have to present by law, and it just breaks down, again, the budget a different way: our instructional portion of the budget, the administrative portion of the budget, and the capital portion of the budget. This will all be in our newsletter as well. So for the property tax cap, well, I just wanted to go over that. We kind of talked about this at a Citizens Advisory Committee meeting, and I think it was expressed that not everybody really understands it. I'm not going to go through the whole calculation. I've done it before. We have it on our website. But just a quick few notes about it, that although the law is often referred to as a 2% tax cap, it does not in fact restrict any proposed tax levy increase to 2%. The 2% that we hear about is just one part of a complex 8-step formula. And that school districts must use the formula to calculate their maximum allowable tax levy. The Putnam Valley School District is proposing a tax levy under the maximum allowable amount, which is what I mentioned earlier. Our proposed budget is at $51.6 million with a 0.75% increase, which is $385,000. But our proposed tax levy is under the allowable maximum amount at $37.4 million, or a 1.99% increase, where the allowable was a 2.08% increase. So the proposed tax levy needed to balance the 2019-20 budget is lower than the allowable limit, and it's in compliance with the tax levy cap. I'm going to skip this one. And this is the part that you were asking about, Mr. Ferraro. It was about the tax relief credit and the STAR program. So the tax, I'm going to have to read some of this because, okay, so the refund that comes from the New York State Department of Taxation is what we refer to as the tax relief credit. It doesn't come from the school district, and it is not reflected on your school tax bill. Rather, it's because we met the tax cap compliancy that the homeowners get the tax relief credit. As far as the STAR goes and how that ties into the tax relief credit, was that your question?
Well, they had just changed how STAR will be delivered back to taxpayers.
So they've changed how it's delivered back if you didn't already have it in place. So if you've already had it in place, it will still appear on your school tax bill. But if you're a new homeowner or the property has changed hands in any way, I don't know that it would happen with a simple refinance, but if you were to change names, like your deed went from the husband to the wife, or from a father to a child, a parent to a child, then that would become the STAR that you have to get reimbursed for through your taxes. It's not going to be on your school tax bill. But I just wanted to talk about the tax relief credit check a little bit, because it's going to be equal to a % of your Putnam Valley basic STAR based on your income. And unfortunately, because the chart keeps going on and off, you can't really see it. But if you go to the website and you look at the budget information and this slide presentation, it'll lead you to a place where you can get all this information. And based on your income would be whether or not you received an 85% reduction tax relief check, a 60% tax relief check, and it's of your basic STAR amount. So you would either get 85, 60%, 35%, or 10.5%, depending on your income. And if you have enhanced STAR, you would be getting a 34%. Your tax credit would be 34% of what your actual enhanced STAR reduction is. This slide I wanted to show just to make a point, and although it's going on and off, you can see that the voter turnout trend has really flattened out. In other words, the voters are not coming out to vote on school budgets like they have in the past. And I think it's going to, it has an effect on how we are able to get out to the public and try to get people to come out and vote on the budget. Because of the tax cap and people people's interpretation of what they think that means. I think they believe it means that, you know, they become complacent because they believe that school districts are staying within their 2% tax cap and they don't have as much to think about. But if they don't come out and vote, the budget could fail, and that's a problem for the school district. It's what we talked about last time, which was contingency. And if you look at the slide online, you can see that all of the turnouts throughout the districts in the area have decreased and significantly since 2006. I see that in our district, we went from about 2,500, over 2,000 people, I can't tell exactly, but over 2,000 people voting to about, you know, 600 or 800 people turning out to vote. Could become a real issue for the district. So the contingent budget, again, if a school budget's not approved, the district loses its ability to maintain programs and services that are currently available. And a contingent budget could mean automatically making cuts for us. It would mean about $732,000, which is the difference between last year's tax levy and this year's tax levy. That would be our mandated change in our budget if the budget were to fail. And, you know, that takes away from student achievement automatically by having to cut either positions or programs. And for voting information, I just want to say that our vote is on May 21st. It's the third Tuesday in May. And it is from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. at the Putnam Valley Elementary School. We encourage everyone to come out and vote. And I ask the board to adopt the budget tonight based on all of the presentations that we've had. Voter absentee ballots are available at the district clerk's office beginning April 23rd, and those can be returned right up until 5 p.m. the date of the vote. Our newsletter is going to be available tomorrow online, and also will be getting mailed out just prior to the vote. We have a 6-day notice that we have to get out. We can't get it out prior to 6 days before the vote. It's the law. But that will give additional budget information. We're giving as much as we can in tomorrow's newsletter. And again, line-by-line budget information can be found at any of the district, in the district office and any of the main offices around town. We will be going to the library, I mean not the library, the senior center and the town hall to make a presentation on the budget. And we hope that everyone comes out and votes on May 21st. Does anybody have any questions?
So Jill, this is like the third or fourth time, if not more, that we've seen parts of this, and there's not been a significant amount of change from iteration to iteration because the programs are pretty solid, and you know we've done a good amount of enhancement and change, but where we could have significantly growing budget issues, but we are benefiting from retirements and other savings in certain areas of the budget, so that we are able to keep within that below the tax levy cap, and it's getting harder and harder.
It is.
To keep budgets at that level, and it's not just us. I mean, it's just kind of the nature of the beast, the way inflation works, the way contracts work. There are just, it's almost, there's very little discretionary space in there. There's mandates, beyond the mandates, just the way things are laid out. So I think, I want to thank you and your team for the job that you've done in being able to corral this together. I think it's looks like a fair budget. It takes, it does do its best, I think, to balance programs and the community support that's needed for it through their taxes as well as through their votes. So I just want to thank you for being able to pull that together and manage all the moving parts that make this such a a task. So
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, the budget is a significant, challenge from year to year, and it's getting more challenging with all of the, any new mandates or any new changes and the new contracts. And again, the budget is under 1% increase from last year at 0.75 or $385,000 on a $51 million budget. So there's hardly any movement at all. And like you said, there were specific factors that had to do with that, and hopefully we can keep finding those from year to year to try to maintain that, that same flow. And I'd like to ask the board tonight to, to adopt the budget in the way that it's been presented.
Are there any more questions for Jill? I know we've seen the budget a number of times. We've all had individual conversations with her about the budget.
And there will be at least one more hearing of this, or really another hearing right before the vote.
There
Which
is
would
a
then be
budget
the
hearing.
That would be the proposed budget. This is the tentative budget, but when we vote on
Right
it
after
today,
it's adopted.
it's the adopted budget, right?
Yes.
Okay. My computer screen has frozen.
Let's see what's next, I can tell you.
So, we have no student representatives. PTA, PTSA, Ms. Casey, sitting there patiently waiting.
Hi, good evening. My name is Christina Casey, corresponding secretary for the Putnam Valley PTA. The PTA is sponsoring a spelling bee for our 3rd and 4th graders. April 25th is the semifinals, and May 13th is the finals. The following students have made it to the semifinals: Nicholas Tran, excuse me if I pronounce any names wrong, Madeline Pykuch, Nina Lamott, Vienna Toteta, Dylan Figueroa, Kate Melqueen, Lily Cottrell, Summer Skorka, Nicholas Randazzo, Cassidy Lewis, Kaylee Bowe, and Lorena Leckie. Good luck to all. Our elementary school yearbook is for sale. You can order online at yearbookordercenter.com. Our order number is 18004. If you order your yearbook by May 5th, they are only $25 each. After May 5th, they will be $30 each. You can also purchase an ad in the yearbook, and the last day to purchase an ad is Monday, April 15th. We have 2 upcoming arts and ed events. On May 9th, we will have the Revolutionary War encampment for the 4th graders. On May 10th, Medieval Manners and Manners for the 6th grade. We're also going to be hosting a staff appreciation luncheon for both the elementary school and middle school staff on Tuesday, May 7th. Our theme is Our Staff Really Shines. We are asking for PV families to donate food or monetary donations for the luncheon. A Google form will be sent out for those who wish to contribute. We will also send out a form for students to fill out about their favorite teacher and staff members to be hung around the faculty rooms. Save the date for our PTA and Hudson Valley Renegades game on Sunday, June 23rd. We will be honoring Mr. Carlin and his snow tie at the game. Tickets are $12 each and include a hat. More info to come on how to purchase the tickets. We have our 3 for Me program running at the elementary school on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays from 9:15 to 11 a.m. We could also attend at other times. Just let us know ahead of time. 3 for Me encourages our members to volunteer 3 hours of their time over the course of the year to support our elementary school teachers with tasks such as copying and assembling projects. Coffee and snacks are provided for volunteers. And we're wishing all of our Putnam Valley families a happy spring recess. We'll see you when we get back. Thank you.
Thank you. And moving towards our curriculum report, Dr. Luft.
Thank you. I have a pretty quick one. I had the opportunity to visit with our robotics team over in Rockland Community College. It's the 2nd year in a row I've been able to go and see them prepare their robot for competition. I'm always impressed with what they're able to design, build, and program to get it to, this year they had to lift balls up to varying levels, heights, and it had this whole space theme to it. And one of my favorite things about it is that not every student needs to be sort of a master builder, or not every student needs to be a coder or programmer, and that there's lots of different ways for students to get involved. There's sort of this whole networking aspect. You're supposed to find other teams to partner up with. There's awards given based upon design and your explanation of it, and the charts and how you decorate and your booth. And there's just lots of different ways for students to get involved. So it's something that I know we're only in our 2nd year, but I hope that interest continues to build. And I think it's a really exciting opportunity for students to take all of the knowledge they're learning here in school and apply it to something that's as tangible as being able to program a robot to compete in competition. So I just wanted to give some credit to those students. The middle school has been meeting with a scheduling task force, so that's internally. Administrators and teachers have been involved in looking to create a new flexible schedule. And I know tomorrow they'll be meeting with a consultant to review some of the possible frameworks they're considering. Again, I just wanted to commend the work of the individuals involved. I participated with them last Friday, and we were there till 5:30. So teachers volunteering their time, staying after, just to try to work collaboratively on coming up with a schedule that works for the teachers, that works for the students. I just wanted to give a shout out to all the cast and crew of Wizard of Oz from the elementary school. One of our favorite events of the entire year, and I know many of the board members and administrators were there as well. Another assembly at the elementary school is the Assembly for Troops, which again is almost makes your eyes water when you hear 500 plus kids start to sing together and salute our veterans. So I think that's a great assembly as well. Interviews are underway for a new director of curriculum and instruction. The screening part has been completed, and we'll be inviting people back for final interviews at the end of spring break. We have a committee together. The committee consists of parents, students from the high school, some community members, administrators, and teachers. So more to come for that, but we had actually had almost 100 applicants for the position, which was very exciting. The chorus line at the high school, I had, again, it was an amazing performance. I had the opportunity to bring my 2 boys with me. So my unrelated side story was my 7-year-old convinced me to buy 50-50 tickets. He swore he would win. I told him he would not. He won. And then he was having a very hard time grasping the concept of we donated the money back. So sitting on my lap the second half of the show, he kept turning around to me and going, "Can we get our money now?" And I'm like, "Shh." And then he would go, "Can we leave and get our money now?" So after the show, when I finally explained to him in words he'd understand that we donated the money back, he said, "Why would we do that?" And then started crying. So, but they enjoyed the show, and I know better next time not to buy them 50-50 tickets. And just my last piece is the facilities project is continuing to move forward. We recently had a meeting with our architects and construction managers. We have plans to walk the sites. Really, our first order or next order of business is to identify sort of the staging areas, access roads. I know this is the type of questions I get a lot, where the construction worker is going to park, where are they going to stage all their equipment, is it going to infringe on our fields, is it going to infringe where we go to recess? So really our goal in starting the beginning of May is to come up with a really detailed plan as to where the fences are going to be, where people are going to park, because I know that's of concern to many, myself certainly included. That's it. Thank you.
And now superintendent's
Yes.
report. And Dr. Luff stole some of your thunder. That's fine.
Dr. Luff, yes. So, that's good,
You
that's
were.
fine. I just wanted to comment on a few things. The Magma Group, this past weekend, had their award ceremony for the second half. And again, it's the high school students who come, over 40 students who come to support the students with disabilities who have an opportunity to join a team, to be part of a group where they feel they belong and they can express themselves. And there's this wonderful connection that's made. And of course, the feeling that the young students have for the high school students is really beautiful to see. Also, the parents who get together and talk to one another and have a feeling that they're part of something that most families can accept as normal, and they want to be part of that too. And this is a wonderful opportunity for everyone. It's very inclusive and very positive. Just a sign of where we're going with our Mandarin class. We have a 7th grade coming up with 20 students, so we are, well into now our 3rd year of the program, coming into our 3rd year. We also are seeing that BOCES is going to be supporting a kindergarten program. We had a little discussion of that last time, a kindergarten program where students will have some, get some more exposure at a very early age, and that will be supported by BOCES. I did want to mention Caitlin Pellegrino. She couldn't be here tonight, but she was HUD Gymnast of the Year. This is very exciting. It's a merged team, so again, they don't get the recognition during the year in that type of a team. The PVEF auction was held last week, and the hit of the evening was Sam Oliverio, the town supervisor, bidding high, the highest for the snow tie, the famous snow tie. And it was a wonderful event, great turnout, and again, everyone supporting our schools and our teachers.
I think it was $13,000 raised, I
Yes.
think.
Yes, exactly, $13,000 raised, so a wonderful event. We were named again as the national community for music, a national award recognition, which it was well supported when we saw something like Chorus Line this week, and the excitement of that show. Also seeing the senior citizens in our community come out to enjoy Chorus Line is another wonderful event with the dinner they have. And I want to thank also the Dawn and Karen for their leadership of the Make a Difference Club. That club did all of the serving and preparing for the senior citizens. We sent out something today, just some information on on measles in terms of questions and answers. There are no measles cases in Putnam County, but I know there are parents who do call and ask whether there's information on that. Today I was at a superintendent's meeting, the regional superintendents, and the discussion was on vaping and THC and this epidemic that is occurring in our schools, and the concerns for the addiction that is happening, and for the needs of students who are, the question of what kind of penalties and how do you develop something that is not just a penalty but actually helps students to understand the addiction and to try to overcome it. It's a very serious matter throughout the region. Every superintendent, every principal is dealing with this. Also part of a community read group. Last year, if you remember, we had a community read. We read Obey, this story. This year, it's the read. The book is Into the Beautiful North, which is a very positive story about people moving from Mexico and actually becoming a part of the United States and what that's about, and in a very positive and amusing way as well. We will be visiting the senior center and the town board as well to discuss budget, as we do each year, and that's an important opportunity again for us to help people understand the importance of voting. And I just want to make a good shout out to the middle school for their international dinner. Over 100 people attended that dinner.
Right, and I know one of the organizers of the Putnam Valley Education Foundation is in the audience. I'd like to, Elaine Rendezzo, so I just want to thank her and her committee for really mixing it up and giving us a new event this year, so thank you.
And just best wishes to Natalie, because tomorrow she's going to be defending her dissertation. We all send her good wishes to that.
Absolutely. And now I'd like to open it up for public contribution on any listed agenda item. And I just ask when you come up to please state your name.
Hi, my name is Sam France. I'm a student here. I'm here with some of my friends. We wanted to comment on the resignation of one of the middle school teachers, Mr. Posh. So we all know him mostly through running. He's the coach of the cross-country, winter track, and spring track teams. A couple of us also had him as a teacher. And over the past 2 days, we've been asking people, to kind of collect a couple of thoughts about Mr. Posh and like what people thought of him, because we're kind of disappointed he's being let go, considering he's made such an impact on us as a coach and a teacher. So we all wrote some letters, and we got a bunch of other people to write letters, and we just kind of wanted to read some highlights and tell our own personal stories as well. So I'm going to start talking about myself. So the past 2 years, I've known Mr. Posh as my track and cross-country coach. And, you know, when he first came along, I was kind of worried because Mr. Zupan had been our coach forever, and we really loved him, and we were kind of confused, you know, like, how's it going to go with a new coach? And my fears were settled because Mr. Posh is one of, like, the greatest adults I've known in the Putnam Valley community. I've really connected with him on a level not normally seen with teachers or coaches. And in practice, you know, he's always there for us. You know, I feel like he really cares about each and every one of us and is always working to support us to do our best. Commonly in practice, when we're doing long runs, you know, we'll be running lots of miles, and he'll often join us on those runs as he's very passionate about running himself. And it's always supporting to know that our coach is right there with us, you know, he knows what it's like. And when we're running, we often pass the middle school, and the students there are always outside, and they're always yelling, "Hi, Mr. Posh," you know. I think it just really kind of shows the impact he's had on them as a teacher as well. And, you know, personally, recently I've been recovering from an injury in track, and I haven't been able to run for quite a while, about a month now. And he's been with me there every step of the way, you know, talking me through, like, how we're going to work to get better. And it's really been a game changer, because without that kind of support and guidance, I don't know if I would still be running or motivated to keep training. So, yeah. So for me, Mr. Posh has just been an excellent coach and an excellent friend. He's really changed the way I think about running and a lot of other things in my life. And without him in our school community, I don't really know where I would be, both on and off the track. So I've got a couple more thoughts from other students and runners from around the school that knew Mr. Posh, and I just kind of wanted to say a couple of the highlights. They've got a couple too. So one of his cross-country athletes said he'll never forget when Mr. Posh pulled me aside after practice and talked to me about the meaning of times, and how the sport is about much more than how fast you are. The sport Posh leads us through is about never giving up. Mr. Posh is more than a coach or a teacher for kids. He's a role model. Another student that had him as a teacher in 6th grade and also is now on cross-country and track teams with us this year. He said, "Mr. Posh quickly became my favorite teacher and even a friend. He's able to connect with his students and runners on a personal level like no coach I've ever had has been able to do." Mr. Posh never had the goal of just teaching us units in class. His main goal was to get us thinking and using our brains each and every day. Mr. Posh always had his door open, not only for students, but for parents too. I was able to tell that he had a real passion for teaching and coaching. Mr. Posh has always talked about how much he loves the school and this district, and that how he's ready to make this place his forever home. This is why it's hard for us to think that he might not be coming back next year.
Thank you, Sam.
Hi, I'm Michael Whitaker. I'm a 9th grade freshman, and I've been lucky enough to have Posh as both a teacher and as a coach over the past year and in 6th grade. He has a connection to really everyone on the team, and he all cares about us deeply. Like, if you ask anyone about him, they probably have a good memory of him, a good life lesson they've learned from him, just anything like that. He's not only a great running coach, but he's also a great life coach. And he blends the two really perfectly. And I feel like over the past year of knowing him and running with him, I've just become a much better person. And I've learned a lot about myself and, like, because of him, I've made so many great friends, and I've definitely become a more brave and like a less nervous person. And he's really enthusiastic about teaching. As Sam said before, he'll run with us and talk with us. And I remember one time he talked about his lesson plans and talked about how excited he was about them because he was really hoping his kids would get something from them and like that they would just learn something and have fun learning. As Sam said, whenever you run by, middle schoolers are always screaming his name and are really excited to see him. Then I have a few quotes from other people. Throughout middle school, I always heard Mr. Posh was a nice teacher. Now that I've had him in track, I can say that's true. I'm a beginner on the track team this year, and all he has been for me is supportive. I can't see the school without him. He is probably the person I most trust in the school, and it won't be the same without him. This one goes over. Says, his influence as a coach has motivated me to become a better runner, a better student, and an overall better person. The fact that he's leaving has me concerned because I like him so much. And it just goes over how much this kid in particular is bonded with Posh. This is one from a junior that says, when I heard we would have a new coach for my sophomore year track, I was nervous for what to expect. However, Mr. Posh came in and ended up being the best coach our team has ever seen. Not only does he have incredible knowledge and experience in running, but he is also the kindest and most passionate coach I've had in any sport. He comes to practice every day enthusiastic to be there and ready to address all of our needs. This one goes over. This kid says, every race I've done, I knew I couldn't have crossed that finish line without the assistance and training from you. You've made running a really fun experience. You and my fellow teammates are like family to me, and every day after school, I'm always ready for another great day of running. This one says, whenever I'm having a bad day, he, Mr. Posh, always knows how to make me happy, even though he might not know that I'm upset. I can't imagine a different coach for track, and no one could replace him. Track is a team that sticks together, and we're all here for him. This one goes over how it says, Mr. Posh always made it fun running with us on long runs and talking about all kinds of things. Long distance running can be very boring after a while. You may want to give up, but Posh encouraged us to never give up and push ourselves so that we could improve and have fun. He is an amazing human being. And this one actually comes from a 7th grader right now. And this 7th grader basically just lists how much she loves Mr. Posh. Talking about how nice he is, how good of a teacher he is. It's not very exact because it's from a 7th grader, but the point still stands.
There might be some 7th graders angry at you tomorrow.
And so this says, and even though I'm in 7th grade now, your kindness, caringness, hope, and givingness will follow me everywhere. I really hope you will be able to stay at Putnam Valley to make an impact on a bunch of other students. Hope to see you again. And honestly, I feel like everyone can agree that Posh is a great person. And for me personally, track with him is probably the highlight of my day. And I think a lot of you guys can agree. That's all.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Gabby Randazzo, and I'm in 8th.
Don't point out that she's shorter than the rest of you.
And I'm an 8th grader, and So here's the letter I personally wrote, and Mr. Posh had a huge impact on my life. In the classroom, he made learning fun, and students actually enjoyed being in his classroom learning. When I didn't understand something, he always gave me one-on-one time, making sure I left understanding what we had discussed. In class, he thought of different ways to bring history to life. He used videos, assigned partner work, gave independent work, and created games using history facts to give us a different way of learning so that every day wasn't just lecturing and taking notes. He gave me an academic confidence that I don't naturally have, and most of all, he made me want to learn and work hard in his class. I also had the privilege of having his guidance since this past summer when he approached my parents about allowing me to run cross country for the high school varsity team. Having always played basketball, I never considered myself a runner, but Mr. Posh saw something in me that I didn't. I worried that perhaps I wouldn't be able to keep pace with older runners, and there were times when I was disappointed with my racing times. Never once did his belief in me waver. I had never had that kind of belief or support from a coach, and I've played different sports and have been on different types of teams since I was 4 years old. He encouraged me to keep doing what I'm doing and that I shouldn't have been disappointed in how I ran. He always told me that there was plenty of time to develop and there was no need to rush it. Just a few weeks ago when varsity track started, I realized that leagues were scheduled for when I would be away on an 8th grade trip to Washington, D.C. Possibly making all league as an 8th grader like I had in the fall for cross country, was a very big personal goal I had for myself. I never told Mr. Posh that was a goal of mine, and the first thing he said to me when I mentioned leagues for the same day as the DC trip was I was going on a once-in-a-lifetime trip with my friends, and that I earned it as an 8th grader, and that I would have plenty of chances to make all-league in years to come. He proved once again that I was just as much as a student as I was an athlete to him, and he would always choose me to do what was best for me. I looked forward to being under his guidance and direction for 5 years. I knew without a doubt that he would always have my best interest in mind as a student and as an athlete. I'm extremely sad that he will not be returning to Putnam Valley, and I think that is a really big loss to our school and athletic program. And then I have some letters from other people, and they said, "You've encouraged and inspired me to always do my hardest in the practices and races. I never expected to be where I am now with running since I started freshman year. And overall, thank you for everything." And then one more was, Mr. Posh was the one who made social studies my favorite class. And that was it.
Thank you, Gabby.
I cannot emphasize this enough. Cross country is like a family, and as you can see, these teams, just wonderful. When Mr. Posh came as a coach, under the influence of Mr. Zupan, just him, Mr. Zupan, wonderful coaches. They helped me through a lot. You can't, speechless. They're just so good. I'm a senior this year, so I was very glad I got the pleasure to know Mr. Posh as a coach before I left for college. Mr. Posh is a very motivating person. He strives to make everyone is giving their 100% and keeps pushing them, keep pushing us to be our very best selves. He does these things not only on track, but in halls and classrooms. He's a positive person to be around, and all of these things show how great of an asset he is to Putnam Valley. Mr. Posh personally motivates me on a daily basis. When I feel like when I'm around him, I do things I could never expect from myself because he's that good as a motivator. Mr. Posh is the best, best coach. Yeah, he's just the best ever. I can't see PV without him at all. I cannot see track or cross country losing coaches. He just helped me with being a coach. Besides being a coach, he helped me through life lessons, all of us. It just made each and every one of us come to practice because we look forward to seeing him and Mr. Japan. Yeah, it just made it enjoyable.
Thank you
Thanks,
very
Tim.
much.
My name is Frank Bubico. I'm a junior that's currently on the varsity cross country team and the varsity track team, and I have a bunch of letters from a bunch of people who are far-ranging, from beyond Putnam Valley, from beyond the high school, from beyond our team. I have 4 middle schoolers. I have 1 student from Haldane High School who was his team captain on the indoor track team. And I just wanted to talk about what Posh has done for me first before I list what he has done for them. For many years of my life, I've had to cope with ADHD and anxiety, and it's always been rough going to school. As much as I loved it, I also hated it. I hated being in the environment, and I hated going to school every day and getting up and having to go out and do something that just kind of deterred me from wanting to go out of my house the entire day. And something happened sophomore year of track, and that was Mr. Posh showing up to be my coach. And what's funny is that wasn't even the first time I've met him. I used to do I-team in 8th grade, and the day we first met was when he was wandering the halls, and he walked up to me looking at me, and I thought he was a kid. I thought he was a high school student. And my life was forever changed, and we started talking about running that day, and I helped him set up his laptop, and then he left, and then I left. And sophomore year came, and here is this man who I had known from 2 years ago, one time, and he changed my life forever. And every day I'd get up, and I still do it today, and I go, I want to go to practice. And I get out of bed to go see that man. And I get out of bed just to go and enjoy myself. And he's made running a passion for me. Originally, I just ran because I was good at it, and that was all I really cared about, was being good at it, and now I love it. And I don't care if I run a good race or if I run a bad race. I just love to run. And he's made me want to go D1, and I've hit all the D2 scholarship standards already, and I'm working towards D1 to go to college to do this for the rest of my life. And he's just changed my world. And I go around during homework club and I hear kids talking, and every time I mention his name, the room gets excited and they all start talking about him. And even today, I talked to a kid who never had him as a teacher, and he said, I just walked into his classroom today and just told him he was the best teacher in the district, just because I felt like it. And I really think that he's someone who PV is losing, who could change this community. I mean, he'd been looking to get this job here. He's told me multiple times from the moment he got his teacher's degree. He knew about this place from going to college at Marist. He knew that it was a great community, and he wanted this job. Not only did he want to coach here, he wanted to teach here. He wanted to inspire people here. He just went back to school to get a degree that would allow him to teach history throughout every level of high school and to teach any freshman course. He's put so much soul into this community. For a man who was looking to buy a house, to move here, to live here, to grow among us. For a man whose wife transferred districts so that he could teach here, so that they could have a nice commute. He wants this, and he wanted this job, and he loves it here. And I feel that losing him would be losing one of the most valuable teachers that's ever come to this district in many years. And now from our varsity cross-country captain, Dora Rippon, who is a senior, who's graduating this year. She wrote, "Before races, he would often talk with us to calm our nerves and hype us up. I like that he remembered what it is to compete in races and that he always made it the right way for us to go about our day." Ashley Haynes of Haldane High School, his indoor track captain, wrote, "Coach Posh taught me more about running, form, and how to be a better runner and think through my races, and I only knew him for one season out of the many that I've been on track. His enthusiasm for his students and athletes is incomparable, and he is able to relate to his students and athletes in a way that allows everyone to work well together and succeed to strive better. He's a wonderful mentor, teacher, and coach. All of this shows clearly through his everyday interactions with our team and how well we all took to him being there." Another graduating senior named Michael Lopez wrote, "Posh, as the distance coach, is one of the reasons I chose to do track and field for my senior year, because I was not only going to stay fit and athletic, but I am also happy to have a coach that actually cares for his runners and cares about what they do." An 8th grader named Mackenzie DeGrazia wrote, "Mr. Posh is a very considerate and understanding social studies teacher who taught us mythology and history of foreign countries. His influence impacted his students, and especially me, by teaching us a new type of history that we don't normally learn about, and I anticipated going to his class because it was just that interesting and educational. This type of positive attitude for history is very interesting and mostly fun for almost all students, and in general, I believe Mr. Posh should not be let go, as it would be very disappointing if he were." Another middle schooler wrote, "Mr. Posh was, and many others, the favorite teacher, and hearing that he is being let go is outrageous and upsetting. Even though I will be in high school next year, other students won't witness how much of a god he is. One of the reasons why he shouldn't be fired is that he is a very kind and understanding teacher. He can make you feel welcome and ready for the rest of this year. And another reason why he should stay is that he isn't strict, and he is a very fun teacher, and he even reads us stories that teach us more than any other teacher could possibly teach with a PowerPoint." A junior named Zach Franz wrote, "Mr. Posh is such a good and positive influence, mentor, and person who truly cares. He has had a profound impact on me, not only as a runner, but as a person." A sophomore named Brian Carroll wrote, I've been spent a couple weeks with him so far, and he has led me to believe that I can be a great man and that he doesn't deserve to lose his job based on this. I'd like to thank him for all he has done for me, our team, and the school." A sophomore named Mia Leone wrote, "Mr. Posh is a well-respected coach and is an amazing role model to the whole team. He's constantly encouraging and pushing everyone to do better, even though he is a distance coach and I am a sprinter. He checks in on me when I am injured or to just simply see how I am doing because he cares about the whole team. During practice, it's clear to see how close he is with the distance runners. He dedicates his time to coaching, and he even does all the workouts with his team, even though he doesn't have to, just because he enjoys spending the time with us." Another middle schooler named Joe Gorman wrote that he was the best teacher he's ever had, and that him being let go is one of the most disappointing things he's heard in many years. He said that he was good in his class, and even though that he failed one of the quarters because he didn't do his homework, he still got 100 on the final, just based on how much Posh was willing to help him learn, study, and understand the material, staying with him constantly after school to help him get caught up. Finally, another middle schooler wrote that he was his favorite teacher and that he supported me even though while I was failing his class as well, only because I would refuse to do homework. And you are important to me and many others because we hope you can stay and that we love you and that you always worked hard on raising my grade. You are nice, caring, and funny. You make social studies fun and interesting, and you can do the same for many other kids if you stay." That is all.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Frank.
So, just to conclude, I think it's pretty obvious the impact Posh has had on us as runners and as students. And while we're all high schoolers, you can't go anywhere near the middle school without hearing his name. It really is something special that the amount of love he's fostered here in such a short time. And he's really had an effect on our community, and we're very disappointed to see him go. thank you for your time.
Thank you all very, very much. And
One last thing. We have made copies of all the letters that we have received,
Okay.
except for, unfortunately, 5. But we're going to be giving them to you, so you can hold on to them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And can I also suggest, and if you haven't already, that you make copies for Mr. Posh, because I think everybody deserves to know how they've impacted people. She's our organizer, Sam.
If you leave the extra 5, I'll make copies and send it to them. You could leave. You want me to make copies and send it to people? The 5 you don't have copies of?
Right now, or we
No,
need,
if you leave them with,
Oh.
I can make sure everyone gets them, I'm saying.
we need the originals back.
It's fine.
Okay.
I can get back to you.
Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you.
We're going to move on to our new business, but I just have to add that for whatever the reason, whenever students show passion about anything, it helps me realize that we are doing our job right, and our teachers are doing their jobs right. So I just want to thank you all for coming tonight. Okay. Okay.
I do think that it's, we talk about student agency and student voice. I look at these young people and am proud and amazed that they come and speak to us, give us their opinions, their thoughts, their perspective. I think that that's powerful and important, and I'm glad you did. Thank you, all of you, for coming. Those who spoke and those who didn't, who were just there in support. And I think it was really very mature. Thank you.
I'm losing my, I'm sorry.
New business. I think.
Okay, we're up to new business. But before we begin new business, I think, yes.
I'd like to make a motion, please.
Mhm.
I'd like to make a motion that we table motion number 8, the acceptance of a resignation.
And, well, second, and then questions or comments on that motion? And I'll comment. I just want, we've been doing some whispering up here, and I just want to let your students know, we believe that your coming here tonight deserves us to review the material we've received and the evaluations, and look very closely at this decision. It is not in any way a promise that the same decision will not be made. But you took the time to come to see us, so we will take the time to review a decision that our administrators did recommend, which is likely we will review.
Right.
Right, we know that, and it is a resignation, but it's not. We're not even addressing number 8 right now. We're simply not going to talk about it at this board meeting.
Right.
Correct?
We need to vote
All
on
in favor? Yeah.
tabling
Taking that
the
off?
session of tabling number 8.
Yes.
So,
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion 1.
And note that the resignation letter was made. It's simply not us acting on it.
Right.
Correct, you're just not accepting it.
We're not accepting
The
it.
resignation
That's-
letter has still been made.
Yes.
Correct.
And is still in effect, but we have not acted on it,
We
and are not
acted
acting on it today.
That's what we withdrew.
Okay. Do we have to talk about the calendar? No. Okay, yes.
We will, but no, not right now. Let's,
You
All
want to
right.
start with number 1, Joe?
Number 1?
Resolved on the recommendation of the superintendent of schools to approve and authorize the superintendent of schools to enter into a supplemental memorandum of agreement between the district and the PVFT with regard to the 2019-20 school district calendar as per document number 15019 attached to the agenda and official minutes of this meeting.
Second.
Questions or comments?
This will be for 180 days and 4 superintendent conference days. That's what the final agreement's going to be.
All in favor? Aye. Number 2.
Resolved on recommendation of the superintendent of schools to adopt the 2019-20 district calendar as per document number 151/19 attached to the agenda and official minutes of this meeting.
Second.
Questions or comments?
I think we should change everything that we are.
Ignoring that particular comment, any other comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Number 3.
Resolved by the Putnam Valley Board of Education to adopt a tentative budget for the 2019-20 school year in the amount of $51,680,010.
Second.
Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Number 4.
Resolved that the Board of Education of the Putnam Valley Central School District approve the property tax report card for the 2019-20 school year referenced in the minutes of this meeting as document number 15519 and authorize the district treasurer to submit it to the State Education Department.
Second.
Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Number 5. Did we do that already?
Resolved on lucky me. Resolved on recommendation of the superintendent of schools to appoint Amy Novak to a 3-month leave replacement position as a special education teacher at the high school, effective March 22nd, 2019 through June 30th, 2019, or sooner at the discretion of the Board of Education, on Step 1A of the PVFT salary schedule. Ms. Novak holds Students with Disabilities 712 Generalist Supplemental Certification.
Second.
Questions or comments?
I just want to note that Ms. Novak came back to us this year after the tragic death of Mark Travachino, and she was working to, even though she's been in the class for many months now, she was working to earn the certification. So even though she's not new to the position, this change in salary reflects her earning of that certification.
Okay.
So she's switching from a long-term sub position to what is a leave replacement.
Okay. Thank you for that. All in favor?
Aye.
Number 6.
Resolved on recommendation of superintendent of schools to appoint Asunta Sodano to a 4-year probationary term as a teaching assistant, commencing on May 2nd, 2019, and terminating on May 1st, 2023, in the teaching assistant tenure area of Step 1 of the CSEA salary schedule, prorated and in accordance with the Putnam Valley Central School District Policy 9250. Ms. Sodano holds teaching assistant level 1 certification.
Second.
Questions or comments? All in favor? Aye. Number 7.
Resolved on the recommendation of the superintendent of schools to appoint Karen McCarney to the probationary position of clerk effective July 1st, 2019, with a minimum probationary period of 8 weeks, August 26, 2019, and a maximum of 52 weeks, June 29th, 2020, at the middle school. On Step 3 of the CSEA salary schedule, Ms. McCarney is also approved for up to 10 days of training prior to July 1st, 2019, at the contractual hourly rate of $18.11.
Second.
Questions or comments? All in favor? Aye. Number 9.
Resolved on recommendation of the superintendent of schools to approve the first reading of revisions to policy 4327, homebound instruction, as per document number 157/19, attached to the agenda and official minutes of this meeting.
Second.
Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Moving on to the consent agenda. Number 1.
Resolved to approve the consent agenda items 2 through 14 as presented to the board at this meeting.
Second.
Questions or comments?
We're approving additional spring coaches for modified track, a field coach, and another modified track and field coach, and a volunteer. I would like to thank Stephen Gare for volunteering to help with the boys lacrosse team. We're approving an agreement with the town of Putnam Valley for their rental of our buses for their use during their summer camp. We're approving an agreement with the Management Advisory Group, Special Services, who help us with the assignment of students and in their placements out of district. We're approving an additional assignment for faculty members to work with students with special needs, and we're covering basically 4 teachers who will also be working with a teacher who's on leave and placement. We're accepting a generous donation of a microscope from Regeneron Corporation because of our students' success in their Westchester Educational Science Education Fair. And those students were Dora Rippo, Karina Davis, Marissa Black, and I apologize, Ratu Bolin-Vayu, I apologize to you, Ratu, Michael Thompson, and Sarah Broas. We're approving the elementary school coordinator, Michael Coleman, for the Explorer Club. We're authorizing a budget transfer in the amount of $60,000 from the foster care tuition line to the HVAC to cover the cost of replacing the heating pump and other controls throughout the building. We're approving the appropriation of $610,000 from the general fund capital reserve to the capital fund for use for capital improvements on projects that the district approved last December. We're approving pay for 4 staff members for their work that they did during the therapeutic crisis interventions at schools cohort. They did a refresher training courses previously, and they're going to be doing 2 more days of it. We're approving 1 hour and 20 minutes of contractual pay for 6 lunch monitors for some mandatory courses they have to take. We're approving substitute tutor list additions. We're approving the Board of Education is authorizing the initiation of an impartial due process hearing under the IDE, Independent Educational Assessment Evaluation, for one of our students. And we further resolve that the Assistant Superintendent Natalie Darley be and hereby is authorized to execute any documents that may be recommended by the school district attorney to initiate such processes.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'd like to open it up to public comment on any topic.
I'll make it quick. I attended the Putnam Northern Westchester BOCES annual meeting last week. They represent the 18 districts we're part of. It was a big turnout.
How was the
It was a
crowd?
big turnout. It was me.
He was the crowd.
Yeah, I was the whole crowd. They went over the budget, and the 2 candidates, they have 2 seats that are up, and there are 2 candidates running for the 2 seats who are currently serving, Tina McKay from Putnam Valley and Fred Schnecker from Ossining, and they're both running, and they spoke for just under 15 seconds. And then they went over the actual budget, their budget for next year. And if you all want to take one, oops, excuse me. That's a brief summary of the budget. That's the summary of the budget that they put together for our district.
Is this different than what was sent to us?
Huh?
Is this different than what was sent to us?
Pretty pictures.
That's what you got.
I think you got the big budget, and this is,
And they got this too.
oh, they also got that? Because I didn't get that what they sent to us. Okay.
It's the Putnam Valley.
Yeah, this is just the specifics of Putnam Valley.
Yeah.
The
The
other
big
one is
thing
the
is that our
all 18,
services,
right.
yeah, the big thing is that our services are going up about 1.37% in cost for our services. That is the big thing that is happening. They kept within the tax cap, and obviously, most of the talk during the night was how their goal was to continue to get all the students to succeed and supply all the needs that all the educators in the 18 districts. And what is helping them this year is for the first time, they have, and let me just get the numbers so I don't end up lying. I think they have 6 out of district, when I say out of district, out of the 18 district students who are now attending programs there. So they're getting some nice tuition on those 6 students. That's really
So
helping them.
6 that aren't part of the 18.
Yes. Otherwise, it was a very nice meeting.
Excellent. Thank you for going.
And am I correct that our next meeting is on Tuesday?
23rd.
April
The 23rd,
so
because
that
we have to
vote
vote.
on the BOCES
Yes.
budget.
And all the other 18 districts supposedly are going to meet that day
Meet on
also.
that same day. And is that meeting more, Ms. Molino, also our celebration for our retirees? Yes, we have a number of retirees. 16 retirees. So I do.
Come out and support those folks.
It is usually a lovely, lovely evening, so I do. I do encourage you to come to that meeting. Remember, it is on a Tuesday to accommodate the BOCES vote. Anything, that is April 20th, I'll say April 23rd again. It is April 23rd.
23rd.
Right, okay. Is there anything else from anybody on the board?
I want to ask, do we want to go into executive session, or do we need to not go into executive session to discuss the tabled item?
I think we should, no?
Well, I think we might want to wait till next week when we get all the documents again. Or you want, we'll be able to pull them up now?
Why don't we make a motion to adjourn to executive session? After which no further business will be conducted.
And for the
Purposes
history
of
of one
and-
particular person.
Right, for that. History of one particular person. Are you seconding it?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I want to add my best wishes for a happy spring vacation and a happy holiday season to everybody celebrating Passover and Easter.
No snow days taken out. Yeah, we